This is one of the coolest and best weapons that you can get in Shadow of the Erdtree, especially if you want to be using katanas. And the best part about it is you can get it very early in the game. It's a little bit of a run, but it is absolutely worth it. Plus, I think it might be one of the coolest looking katanas I have ever seen. I mean, look at this thing. It's imbued with magic down the blade. And the Ash of War is so much fun to use. I'm currently using a full dex build with this, and it does require intelligence to use, but even in a full dex build, this thing is still insane. This is the Starline Sword, a brand new katana and easily one of the coolest weapons I've seen so far in Shadow of the Erdtree. Not only is it one of the coolest, but it's incredibly powerful as well. Its unique skill is Anze's Line of Stars, don't know if I pronounced that right, imbues the sorceress energy into lined glintstones and executes a slash attack. Repeated inputs allows for follow-up attacks, each dealing greater damage than the last. So if we hit the Ash of War button, we get this a double attack, and if we hit it again after that, we kind of get this reverse attack with a jump, and then probably the coolest part is if we chain it together 3 times, we get this like hop, teleport, and smash down with the weapon, which looks phenomenal. It is so fun to actually use. The light attacks are relatively quick, and you do have your standard heavy attacks as well, which you can chain together twice. Now, as with all of the katanas, you can two-hand this. For those of you that don't know how to two-hand your weapon, you can hold the triangle button or the Y button on the Xbox, and then you hit R2 to be able to go from one-handing to two-handing. And this will increase the damage that you do with this particular weapon, or really any weapon when you two-hand it. Now, this does require strength, dexterity, and intelligence to use, and it does have a passive effect of blood loss buildup. Now, maxed out to +10, it's going to have an attribute scaling of Strength D, Intelligence D, and Dexterity B. Now, I am using a Dexterity build for this at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving this thing so far. Now, getting this weapon is quite a journey. If you go from the initial Site of Grace, you're going to head north up to the Castle Front Site of Grace, and then from here, we are going to head south down this road right here. You shouldn't have to fight anything along this path. Now, as you get into the fork in the road, you're going to want to take the left fork, going even further down this path. Once you get down into the swampy area, you're going to hug the left wall here, avoiding all of these plants along the way. You're going to hop down and then keep hugging this left wall because this is going to get you deeper down. Now, as you get down into this area, you're going to see a big crab. You're going to avoid the crab and you're going to turn left into this little hole right here next to this giant plant. Now, we're just going to run through here. The way to get up is just right through here on the left-hand side. Then you're just going to keep hopping through. Now, as you near the exit of this particular area, you can actually pick up an item here to level up your summons in this zone, so go ahead and grab that. And there's also a Site of Grace that you can grab right here. So essentially, we've gone from Castle Front. Now, from the Site of Grace, we are going to continue down this river. So we are going to turn left into this little waterfall right here, where we kind of have to hop our way through this particular pathway. So we're just going to hop our way through. You can also get down into the bottom here too as well if you so desire. You're going to jump across. And then we are going to avoid all of these stupid little birds along this path. We're going to hug the left wall again to be able to get across here. You can't get across on the right-hand side. And we are going to speed through here. Avoid all of this. There's a somber stone you can pick up right there, but you might get massacred by those birds. It's not really worth it, especially if you have infinite somber stones by now. And we are getting much closer now. Now we got to do a couple more hops to be able to get down here. We can hop, hop. And there's a Site of Grace that we can pick up right here. Now, from this Site of Grace, we're going to hug the right wall to be able to get down even lower into this area. We're going to go down here, and there should be just a little pathway that we can follow all the way down to the bottom. Then we're going to cross that bridge and get to the other side. So now we've made it to almost the bottom-most area of the Shadow Realm. Now, once you get down into this area, all you got to do is just go across the river, avoid the big dude that's right here, and you're going to go through this little tunnel until you get to the Cerulean Coast Site of Grace. Now that we're down here, what we need to do is head through these absolutely beautiful fields, and we're going to kind of hug this right wall, and we're going to head directly southwest. Once you get to the coast, you're going to start continuing west, and just run right through this swamp area. As we continue running along this coastline, you're going to see a Site of Grace just ahead. Now from this site of grace, you're going to head around that big object and into this little cavern. You're going to hug the left wall and go around this turn right here. There's a little cave right here with a scatter tree fragment in there if you want to grab it. And then you're going to continue along the right wall and you're going to exit out right here under the Church of Benediction. And the thing that we're looking for is actually sitting on the coastline right there, that big thing surrounded by all of those other enemies. That is the thing we need to take out. And upon defeating it, we are going to get the star-lined sword. Now, if you're curious what I'm using in this particular build, I'm using Erdtree's Favor +2 for an increase to our maximum HP, stamina, and equipment load. I also have the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, which enormously boosts our physical damage negation, which is by 20%. This is so useful in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. I've also got Shard of Alexander because we are boosting the attack of our power skills, which is really good for this particular weapon. And I'm also using the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, which greatly raises attack power with successive attacks. There's probably a couple other things you could use in here as well if you so desire. At the moment, I'm using Renala's armor, which you get from killing the first boss in the DLC. I have been using Blade's armor aside from that for the most part as well, which is actually a little bit better, although it is a little bit heavier as well. Now, I'm also playing with 50 Vigor, 24 Mind, Endurance 30, Strength 14, Dexterity 75, Intelligence 21 because we need it to be able to wield this weapon, Faith 25, and Arcane 10. Now the reason that I'm rolling with Faith 25 is I have been running kind of like a hybrid Dexterity and Faith build, which has been working so unbelievably well, and I use the Giant Seal +24 on my offhand. So if we check out our statuses right now, our attack power is at 1035. And before I fight any boss, I always use Flame Grant Me Strength. It is going to increase us to 1168. Then I'll also use Golden Vow, which we needed to get to 25 Faith to be able to use, which is then going to increase us to 1344. And then you can go back to two-handing it, and the damage output of this is going to be absolutely ridiculous. The only downside is it does take a lot of FP to use, so if you don't have a lot of mind, you're only going to be able to use it a few times before you do run out of FP. It's not too bad there. There's definitely things that use more mind than this one, but man, is it a lot of fun. Now, aside from what build you're using in Shadow of the Erdtree, one of the most important things, if not the most important, is the Scatter Tree fragments. These are going to be what drastically increases your power and defenses in the Shadow Realm, these yellow numbers that you see when you are in your status menu inside of the Shadow Realm. This can give you a drastic damage and defense increase. I'm currently sitting at Scatter Tree Blessing level 10, which is really, really good. And if you haven't checked out my other videos on how to acquire a ton of these at the beginning of the game without having to fight any bosses, I highly recommend checking them out. I also have another video that goes over how to get all of the new weapon types in the game right at the beginning, so you can really experiment with a bunch of new fun weapons. Now, I will also be covering plenty of tutorials but I will be covering plenty of new build guides as we go throughout. There'll be plenty more build guides coming. I've got a couple really exciting ones, so make sure to keep an eye out for those on the channel, and feel free to let me know what you think of this particular weapon. in the comments below, or any other weapons you want to see builds of. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.